Okay. Okay. Exodus 11 through 15. It's a hard chapter, really. The things that go on, showing God's power, but yet people suffer. So God kept hardening Pharaoh's hearts as Moses was telling him, "Let my people go, so that they may serve the Lord." So God tells Moses he's going to bring one more plague upon Pharaoh and upon Egypt. Afterwards, he'll let you go. He told the people, "Borrow from your neighbor." And then God gave Israel favor in the sight of the Egyptians. And Moses was great in the land of Egypt, in the sight of his servants, and in the sight of the people of Pharaoh. He told him, at midnight, God's going to go in the midst of Egypt, and all the firstborn of the land shall die, from the one that sitteth on the throne, even the firstborn of the servants that's behind the mill, and all the firstborns of the beast. They're all going to die. But against the children of Israel shall not a dog move his tongue against man or beast, that you may know that the Lord doth put a difference between the Egyptians and Israel. So after he told all them that, he went out from Pharaoh in great anger. And the Lord told Moses that Pharaoh ain't going to listen to him. So Moses left with great anger. Shows people gets angry no matter what position you're in, even if you serve the Lord or not. He served the Lord. The Lord talked to him, like literally talked to him, and he still got angry. So everyone went and got a lamb for each household without blemish, pure white lamb. And then they kept it for 14 days. Then they killed it. They took the blood and mixed it up with some honey and some hyssop and stuff like that to kind of thicken it up. And they marked their doorpost. Each side. Once each side, then the top. And then the rest of it they roasted with fire. And they ate it. Nothing remained of it until the morning. Well, they said to let nothing remain of it, and then whatever they had left they burnt with fire, like a burnt offering to the Lord. And God's going to pass through Egypt that night. He'll send a destroyer, but he'll discern. He won't go to the ones' houses that's got the blood on the doorpost, for their house is covered. And they'll keep it as a memorial, an ordinance forever, which is called the Passover. The nation shall not eat no leavened bread, they shall eat unleavened bread. Sorry, I'm trying to hold my camera straight here. They'll eat unleavened bread for 7 days. Then they'll do all this and little feast and observances. And then verse 23, the Lord will pass through to smite the Egyptians, and when he set the blood upon the lintel and on the 2 side posts, the Lord will not suffer the destroyer to come in into your houses to smite you. So there's one thing that everyone has in common. One thing. No matter if you're rich, poor, what race you are, what nationality, or even where you're living, every man will face death. And I believe everyone has an appointed time when it's their time to die, whether we be young or old, no matter the circumstances. Sorry. And And I believe that we have a destroyer out there today. So this destroyer which killed all the firstborn in Egypt was of the Lord. I believe he was an angel. And there's, we have death, the angel death, that passes over. When it's your time to go, he takes you out. Whether you build the Lord or not. No matter who we serve, we still going to die. But the thing is, that destroyer, he didn't touch them houses that had the blood on it. And I believe this means we have to have the blood of the Lamb, that final sacrifice, to cover us. Because there's an enemy out there now seeking us, trying to destroy us. He can't come after us as quick and easily as he does the unbelievers, because they have the blood. They don't have the blood on their self, in their hearts. They're not covered. And the thing is, the enemy, the devil, when he does do things, he has to get permission. He can't just jump and do things by himself, even though he fell from heaven and he was God's most beautiful angel. God allows us to do what he wants us to do, whether it be good or bad. So, that midnight, the Lord smote the firstborn in all the land of Egypt, from the firstborn of Pharaoh that sat on his throne to the firstborn of the captives that was in the dungeon, and all the firstborn of the cattle. And Pharaoh rose up that night, and he heard a great cry in the land of Egypt. There was not, in each house there was not one person dead. Think about that now. Some of these, Moses told them, but they listened not. And it's a darn shame. It's sad because these kids was innocent kids, just little kids just running around playing. They had no idea what was going on. And I don't want to be, me personally, I don't want to be in the shoes of the Egyptian people that was living back then, to be made an example in a bad way of God's power. For God does what he wants. And this right here is proof that God has judgments and wrath, as well as peace and comfort. So they ran Israel off. They said, "Get on out of here. We don't need you unless we all die too." And there were 600,000 men on foot, beside the children. 600,000 Israelites. And a mixed multitude went up also with them. People that was there that saw the power of God and was like, he did this for them, I want to go with them. So then they baked unleavened bread, because they didn't have time to prepare their food, because they was just thrust out and they was ready to bring out. And they was in Egypt for 430 years, which Abraham, God told Abraham, it was mentioned they're going to be in there for 400 years as a stranger. And they kept the ordinance as the Passover, and no stranger should eat thereof. But every man's servant that is bought for money, when thou hast circumcised him, then he shall eat thereof. When he is bought by money, see. I believe we can keep the feast of the Lord's, for we were bought with his blood. So it goes on to the rules about it. Everyone they have to be circumcised. Then they all did what the Lord told them to do. They did what God told them to do. Then they're supposed to dedicate the firstborn, make an offering of a lamb or a goat or whatever for the firstborn of everything born, man and beast. And God's going to bring them to the land which flowing with milk and honey. And they talk again about the unleavened bread, and to keep the Passover, and that'll be a sign of what God did to them and how he brought them out of Egypt. So you see, what catches me is the mixed multitude, though, because they saw what God did and they followed him. And they, Like, you know we're going to go with them. So, it goes on down about dedicating the firstborn. And then God led them, because they could have went straight up through the land of the Philistines, but then they would repent when they saw war and want to return to Egypt. So he led them through the wilderness. And they took the bones of Joseph with them, for he had straitly sworn the children of Israel, saying that God will surely visit you, and you shall carry up my bones with you. And the Lord went before them by day and by night. He was a cloud during the day, and they followed the cloud, which he led them through the wilderness. Then he's a pillar of fire by night. So they went through the wilderness, and then Pharaoh, God hardened his heart one more time. He went after them. He pursued after them, 600,000 men and chariots. How do you think about that? They're free. People today, we're free. If we choose the Lord and we go seek the Lord, we're free. But you're going to have people like Pharaoh that's going to be jealous and come after you and try to tear you down, as they did. Now the people got scared. And they saw it, and they cried out to the Lord. They was afraid. And they told Moses, why have you brought us out here where there's no graves? You should have left us alone in Egypt. Now that's the thing. Sometimes when we're moving forward, we get scared. But Moses told them, fear not, stand still and see the salvation of the Lord, which he'll show you to this day. And the Egyptians that you've seen, you'll see them no more. And then, so Moses also told them, the Lord shall fight for you, and you hold your peace. So, there's going to be a lot of times in our life that we're going to complain. A lot of Christians today, they probably look at this and are like, I could have done that, I could have been there and handled it. Please, they'd probably have died while they was in bondage in Egypt. I think they're so powerful and so mighty in the Lord. Now me, I probably have been dead in there, because they was complaining because they're afraid because Pharaoh was coming after them, and then was going to pursue them and kill them. But then God told Moses to hold his staff out toward the sea, and he split, and the Red Sea split open. There was dry ground, 2 walls of water. And the angel went behind them as a cloud, so they couldn't see. The Egyptians couldn't see to come after them. And they crossed over the Red Sea on dry ground. And God is going to harden Pharaoh's heart again, that they'll follow. And so they crossed dry ground, and the Egyptians followed them. Then Moses made the sea close, or God made the sea close through Moses, and all the Egyptians died. They all drowned. And then the people, Israel saw the great work which the Lord did upon the Egyptians, and the people feared the Lord, and they believed the Lord and his servant Moses. Then so you think about that now. There's always going to be stuff in our way to stop us from reaching the places where we need to go. Like the Red Sea, for example. They needed to get to the other side so they could go on their way to the land flowing with milk and honey. But that obstacle was right there. But if we trusted God, he'll remove any obstacle out of our way for us reaching the destination which we're destined to reach. And along the way, when we have enemies in our lives trying to destroy us, he'll destroy them too. For he is a mighty God. So they get across the sea, and then they're singing and happy, and they sing about what the Lord did to them. And they just sung about what happened right then, and then people today, they got their own ideas of what gospel music should sound like. You got the contemporary gospel, you got the bluegrass, you got gospel rock and gospel rap, and then opera and all this stuff. And I guarantee you their songs didn't sound like any of the things we heard today. They're singing of what God did for them, and they were singing because they was victorious and they came across, and God made a way for them. They sung with a pure heart, and I believe that that's what makes true gospel music, is with someone singing of a pure heart and for that right purpose, rather than just making money and just doing it to be seen and to lift yourselves up. So then they went on a 3-day journey, and they came, but they couldn't drink the water because it was bitter. And the people murmured, "What are we going to drink?" And he cried to the Lord, and the Lord showed him a tree, and he cast it to the waters, and the waters were made sweet. And he told him, "If you will diligently hearken to the Lord and do that which is right in his sight, and he'll give ear to his commandments and keep his statutes, he won't put any of the diseases on them which he brought upon the Egyptians. For the Lord healeth thee." And they camped in a place called Elim. Now another thing that got me too was there's bitter water. In our life, we're going to have bitter water. We got bitter water in our lives now. Things that are bitter to us. Things that just make us mad. Things that keep us down and hold us back. You know, people you don't get along with. But God will make that bitter water sweet if you trust in Him and do that which is right in His eyes. He'll remove anything away from you that don't need to be in your life. But there's certain things He allows in our lives for a reason. There's certain things we put in our lives ourselves to hold us down. We put ourselves in our own predicaments also. Or does He allow us to put ourselves in the predicaments just to teach us a lesson? So many deep thoughts on these. But now they're free. The Egyptians were killed. Then from pursuing them, like I say, that hit me the hardest though was just the fact that the innocent children was dying. They had nothing to do with it. Poor people's children was dying. They probably didn't know nothing about it. Because when Moses told them, some of them probably didn't go and repeat it to anybody else. But I guarantee you. And then some of them was like, I heck with God. I hate God because He killed my children. He killed my animals, my pet that was outside. And, you know, from that. And I was like, I heck Him. I don't want nothing to do with Him. But then you got some of them that followed Him after that. That turned and converted to Him. And I guarantee you they were circumcised also. From that hard time that God put upon that land. Then some of them, once they lost their firstborn, they had to go through some hard time to be drawn to God, if you see what I'm saying. Because I mean, if God took my children, I don't know what I'd do. But then you got some of these Egyptian people that God took their child from the night of the Passover, yet they just went and it's like, okay, I'm sorry God, I'm going with you. You know, I can't do this. You're powerful, you're real, so I'm following you. So we need to be careful if God is nudging us to come to Him or giving us, you know, because we could end up in bad situations and then come to Him after we lost everything that He's given us. He could take everything away from us just to break us down, to have a humble heart, to turn to Him, to know that we need Him. See, lots of people, they've forgotten where they came from. And they forgot how much they needed Him and how worthless they was. But now they're so righteous, they feel that they're better than Him. But that is Exodus 11 through 15.